Washington Journal continues.
They're following the Dow Jones up and down as if based on what Congress is going to do. That's insanity.
Was there any concern about Monday's vote happened at midday and the market dropped that day 777 points?
Well,
is there any concern about the market today with
you
the
probably had a lot of speculators who were speculating that this big bailout was going to drive the market up, and it had been predicted that that bill was going to pass.
And so that's
what happened was that enough the American people stood up, called their congressman, and said, "Don't pass this bill. This is crazy." And if you follow that logic, if you want to take the logic from Monday that the Dow dropped, well, yesterday the Dow dropped, and it's been reported in the news largely that this bill is going to pass. So that means we probably shouldn't vote for the bill today if the Dow was dropped yesterday. I mean, making decisions like this and leaders saying that the Dow Jones is a reflection upon how we should vote on a bill in Congress that was supposed to infuse capital and liquidity in the marketplace. This is crazy. I mean, I'm a farmer, and I'm not an economist, but I'm smart enough to figure out that that's just nuts, and the American people don't buy it.
How does the constituent response on this issue, email, phone call, compare with any other issue that you've seen on email?
Since I've been here, I've never received so many calls. I mean, it's 99% opposed until the last couple days, and if you notice the spin going on is that, oh my gosh, the calls have changed. Well, what's happened is I mean, and I'm not, I'm a capitalist, but I mean, this is all about the corporate lobby machine in motion. And so the calls that are being generated that are flying into the members' offices now, it's still 90% opposed. But now you have 10% of the people calling in are being asked to call in by the lobby community, by corporate America, people that basically have their hand in America's cookie jar, that want part of the $700 billion. That, look, investors take risks. Sometimes they take bad risks, and the government shouldn't be bailing them out.
Congressman, the Wall Street Journal writing about your point, they have a story, bank lobbyists regain clout after vote in the House. New FDIC insurance limits and provisions for credit unions were two big victories for the industry in the Senate rescue bill, which is what the House will take up today. Let's go to Chico, California, who supports the bill. Good morning, Chico. Chico, California. Are you with us, Chico?
It's pretty early out in Chico. They're probably asleep still.
Let's go to Chicago. Opposing the bill, good morning.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
But, clearly something needs to be done. But the big question I had immediately was the timing of this. Paulson and Bernanke dropped this in the lap of our representatives. It was a ticking time bomb, and we've been hearing about it from expert after expert for several years. So the timing of this is really suspicious. 2 weeks ago, right before a recess. So I really would like to ask this representative, as Chris Matthews asked Representative Cantner on his program, is this, it seems partisan, it really does. It seems like it's a way for the Republicans to run from the policies of the Bush administration in the last 6 years, and then really the Democrats really couldn't really do much without a bigger number. So, do you think this is providing cover for Republicans who are running home for or going home for, their campaigns, and where they do not have to take responsibility for the policies that got us here? I want to just quote one thing that Matthew said. He said, I've never in my life, he said this to Cantner, I've never in my life seen a party run from its own record like the Republicans have. So again, I asked about the timing, and former Secretary of the Treasury, Paul O'Neill, was on David Gregory's the other night, and he just said, look, 2 years ago you guys should have closed down these loans, and that 30% of the people who were getting these loans were missing their very first payments.
Thanks, Chicago. Got a response from the Congressman.
Well, I think what you have to look at here is that you have, it's a bipartisan panic that's been created from the very top leaders in this country who basically quickly wanted to do something, which I agree that we needed to do something quickly, but this is just crazy. This is just a crazy plan. You're throwing $700 billion out there. You're buying off votes. It's just a gross misuse of taxpayer dollars, when the reality of it is we ought to be calm. The leaders in this country ought to stay calm, stop the panic. If they're worried about a run on the banks, let's try to do one thing right. Like I said earlier, we need to try to shore the banks up. And infusing capital in the banks, taking out warrants as security for that capital would make some sense. However, these things aren't even on the table. Basically, what we're doing is we're putting a grab bag out there for corporate America, and there's going to be some winners, and I think the losers ultimately would be the American people. And this isn't going to stop a global depression if we're really in a global depression.
Let's hear from a supporter of the bill. We go next to Orlando, Florida. Hi.
Hi. Yes, Mr. Nunes, you had mentioned that you didn't think that the credit crunch had yet reached the local level, but I'd like to inform you that I have two sisters who are in real estate, and they had found buyers for homes who were actually approved for a loan, but then the bank did not offer a loan to either of those customers. They've already stopped lending money, so it has reached the local level. And
well, in my area, it hasn't reached the local level. So it's very possible in different parts of the country there is a possibility that it has reached your part of the world. But just understand, most representatives, I would say almost all 435 of us, are saying that we have to do something. The key is what should we do? And putting together a hastily put package together with $700 billion and then tacking on another $150 billion to buy votes is not the way to do it. It's not prudent, and it's not what this leadership in this country should be doing. We should be doing one thing right, and if we just short up the banks, your sisters would get their loan.
Las Vegas next supports the bill. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Well, I guess I support the bill in some form or another, but many, many years ago I worked on Wall Street. When banks were separate from brokerage firms and they were separate from insurance companies, if one had a problem, you could address it. We had highs and lows in the real estate market and insurance for various reasons. And that worked for 50 years after 1929. It was in the 80s that they all joined together. Now you can't separate them. It's all four legs of the table. Everybody's in it. You can't just pay the banks. It's brokerage and insurance together. Everybody's together. And I seriously don't think these banks would have written these loans had they been solely responsible for just banking. They would have cut their own throats.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the caller obviously supports a bill. I mean, I support a bill too. I just don't support this bill. I just think it's been put together too quickly. We're asking, to really transfer over the largest transfer of power and money into one individual's hands to play, essentially, I know I've said it's to play hedge fund God. And the government shouldn't be in the business of running the largest hedge fund in the world. Our government should be making sure that we have very strong financial institutions. The American people understand that. They want to make sure that when they go to their local bank, their money is there, their money is safe, and they want to know that. And that's what I and many of my colleagues across all the spectrums, from the left to the right, including many economists and market analysts, support shoring up banks. We don't support putting together a big cookie jar for Wall Street to get their hands in.
We have another opponent of the bill on the line, Warren, Pennsylvania. Hi there.
Good morning. How are you today?
Well, fine, thank you.
Well, there's a lot of misinformation out there, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But it's my understanding that the Senate bill that's being proposed is about 4 times larger than the House bill that already was rejected, and that there was $120 billion of added pork to this bill. Now, if you're trying to slim down a bill and take away a lot of the problems with it, I find it baffling that they would add all of this to it. Also, my other concern is what if you did pass the perfect bill and the president chose to unconstitutionally legislate it from the executive branch by adding a signing statement to it? How would Congress react to that? Thank you.
Well, to answer your question, the size of the bill is roughly $850 billion. What they did is they added many tax cuts and many other pork-filled provisions that essentially to buy off the Senate and then hoping to buy off the House of Representatives in order to get 12 more votes. And that's where we sit today. So they're trying to twist arms today to get those 12 more votes. So look, it's I think they're going to get the votes today, quite frankly. So we probably we'll just have to see how good or how prudent is Secretary Paulson with this money. It's a very dangerous step in our nation's history. This is a very, very important vote today, and it's one that I'm really sad to see our leadership forcing us to take.